let's say extreme anxiety, like when there are vampires attacking you from all angles.
I'm in danger!
Hello, my name is Dr. Robin Owen. I'm a lecturer in sports psychology, and I specialize particularly in how to fix issues with performance. So let's look at some pretty tragic mistakes video game characters have done. Gaming can be stressful, but let's see if that stress affects our gaming characters.
You good?
Yeah, but I got a problem. Something's wrong with this thing. It keeps jamming. See?
Sniper! Take position!
Okay, so we have just seen one of the Carmine brothers meeting a famous death. That was Anthony Carmine, one of a bunch of different siblings who either die or live throughout the Gears of War series. And we can see here one of the critical mistakes Anthony made is he got up from behind the cover. Now presumably in this COG military they will have been taught not to get up from behind cover.
See?
It's a cover shooter, so you better stay in cover. But it looks like in that moment, possibly through stress that his gun was jammed and the imminent threat of a locust attack, Anthony might have forgotten. And this might be mediated partially through the attentional control theory, wherein under pressure and anxiety, we have certain effects happen to our central executive, namely the shifting and inhibition functions, which decrease in their ability to regulate our attention. And consequently, we make little mistakes. We become a little bit distracted by threats such as the jammed gun.
Something's wrong with this thing. It keeps jamming.
And make mistakes in other areas, and we might get up from behind cover. And that might be what explains Anthony's oversight in that sense, and subsequent extreme total death.
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ. All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
Alright, so here we have a very famous mission which is known for being really difficult and many players struggling to get past it. In this mission, players have to follow a train. It sounds easy, but in the end, the accuracy and time demands are really high. So what we have as a biological system, and a system that's limited in computing power, is only so much we can process at any given time. And if we can only process so much, it means we can either process a little amount very fast, or a high amount but slower. So because of the complexity of interacting with the environment as a bike, shooting towards the train, avoiding obstacles, there's a high complexity demand. But also at the same time, we have to be fast to keep up with the train.
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
And we can't get too distracted by things and maybe other enemies who might be riding along and we have to deal with. So what this results in the end is an overload in attentional demands and consequently poorer performance. So yeah, essentially the mission's too hard.
Who is it? Surrender and you won't get hurt. I swear!
Okie doke, so here we have a classic stealth kill where an enemy is distracted by one factor and totally forgets what's behind them and consequently gets really murdered, often through choking, like in this case. And this is again related to this attentional control theory. Now, in particular, we have evolved that in situations where we perceive severe ramification for mistakes, i.e. death, like in a war zone or in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, we have a high release of stress and anxiety. Again, under these situations, we have reduced inhibition and impaired shifting. And what that means is our attention is really drawn towards threats.
Who is it?
So you might remember the last time you were really anxious about something, maybe on a sports field, maybe in a test, where you found it really difficult to concentrate. Maybe you were unable to stop looking at the crowd. You maybe were unable to stop looking at the examiner walking along the classroom while you were having to complete your exam. Essentially, our attention is really drawn towards these threats. And if you're a caveman, that's quite useful, because if you are fighting, let's say, a saber-toothed tiger, well, then you need to pay attention to this tiger. But in modern situations, let's say like in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, you might want to pay attention to both the enemy or the potential threat in front of you, the player, but also on anything that might be happening around you, because it might be a trap. So here we have a classic example of attentional control theory, once again resulting in really intense deathage of a non-player character.
It's been interesting knowing you.
In this one, you fight vampires, so any game in which you fight vampires is instantly cool. So here we can see the character having missed a throw of the knife, as well as having mistimed and missed a kick. It is possible that, again, this was attentional control theory, but there is a proposedly alternative mechanism to performance failure under pressure and anxiety. Let's say extreme anxiety, like when there are vampires attacking you from all angles. Specifically, this is called reinvestment theory. And supposedly, we might invest too much effort and try too hard when we are under anxiety and pressure. Consequently, we might be overthinking our actions, and this act of overthinking interferes with otherwise well-rehearsed automatic movement execution. So, although it's well intended, the net result is that you really interfere with your movements, and you perform worse as a consequence. You just become more clunky. You can think about it like dancing at home versus dancing in a nightclub with people you want to kind of like not dance terribly in front of. At home, the dancing feels easy, smooth, effortless, but when you're in the nightclub, it might feel a little bit jerky, bit by bit, non-smooth, and you might look like an idiot. Or maybe I do look like an idiot. But anyway, so that's a potential alternative mechanism.
Boring!
So by now we have had a couple of attentional control theory related deaths. So what can you do about attentional control theory and the issues related to that? Well, The Witcher 3 might have an answer to it. it's really nice to see in The Witcher 3 that Geralt gets himself ready by meditating. Now in the game, this not only prepares the Witcher mentally, but also it prepares him in terms of replenishing his, I believe it's like grenades, and also it replenishes, I think, his health and some of his items. They all get replenished when he meditates immediately before a fight with a big monster. But also, potentially, it's a psychological benefit. So meditating, together with active relaxation as a psychological skill, can reduce stress, can reduce therefore anxiety, and can therefore reduce many of the mechanisms we've covered so far in this video. For some people, meditation and active relaxation really works. For some people, less so. Based on their personality type, they might need to have different types of interventions in order to help them perform better. But it's cool to see such an otherworldly creature engage in practices that we see quite often in elite performers in the real world. We can think of Geralt's consistent meditation before battles, almost like a pre-performance routine, as a step-by-step sequence of events and actions which he needs to really feel ready for a fight, really feel ready for a battle. And if we watch this video here, we have now seen Rafael Nadal perform one of his pre-performance routines, where he gets his water bottles perfectly ready. He also supposedly has a couple of other actions he proceduralized before different events in a match in order to really feel like everything follows a pattern, including good performance in his mind, which is quite a common strategy. It looks like The Witcher is following a very similar pattern. And fighting demonic monsters can be scary, so therefore potentially it's quite beneficial to have a bit of meditation and a bit of a pre-performance routine to help cope with all of that. And yeah, that brings us essentially to the end of this video. We've seen many different approaches, we've seen many different potential issues, but there's an even bigger issue, which is whether or not I continue making these videos. If you enjoyed it and you are still here, firstly, congratulations. Secondly, apologies for suffering with me so long. If you don't mind, it would be really interesting for me to see if you like, comment or subscribe in any sort of way to help me decide whether or not to continue or not. If you think I'm a terrible person, let me know in the comments. That will be very educational. That's it from me, and see you next time, hopefully, if there is one.